Hey guys, what is going on? Jurgen from ZurGrinoSports here, coming at you with the January 15th, 2021 Smackdown review. Before we get into the video, quick self-plug time. If you would like to support me in the channel, you can do so over on Patreon. It'll be the first link in the description. So if you are able to and you would be willing to do so, that'd be greatly appreciated. If not, that is a-okay. Also, if you guys at the end of the video enjoy what I said and all that stuff, leave a like, subscribe, all that stuff. Not yet though, because I ain't done much yet. But at the end, if you think if you fucking with what I'm putting down, you know, leave a like, leave a subscribe, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, let's get into the SmackDown review. SmackDown again was good, continuing the disparity between Raw and SmackDown, because Raw is just, you know, consistently, perpetually just garbage, and then SmackDown is perpetually just good. So I really, it's sometimes it's hard to believe that the same company produces both shows. That's how drastic the difference in quality is between the two shows. But yeah, we're not talking about Raw. We did that earlier this week. It was not good. SmackDown was good, so you know, kind of balances out the week in terms of WWE product, excluding NXT and any of their other small shows. Overall, though, yeah, I like the show. We started off with a quick little highlight recap to last week with Roman and Adam Pearce and getting him the #1 contendership for the Royal Rumble, all that stuff. Quick little recap, and then it cut to a segment with Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman dealing with the contract for the match at the Royal Rumble. And I kind of this segment I didn't really catch in full. I was kind of late coming into the show because I had to go to the store and get some stuff before I came back to watch it. So I was a little bit late. I didn't get the full gist of it because I was still getting everything set up. But I'm pretty sure Roman was not wanting to put a stipulation into the match, but Paul Heyman was trying to convince him to do so, and I think that's what was going on. But if not, then apologies. But after that segment, we went on to an in-ring promo by Jey Uso. Very quickly, I want to mention a production choice that I found very jarring. I don't know if everybody else found it jarring or if it was just me, but first I'll pose the question if anybody has seen the movie It, not the ones from a while ago, but the reboot. In the first one, there's a moment in underneath the sewers or whatever the fuck. I don't really know. I didn't pay too much attention to that movie. It was that scene that kind of went viral of Pennywise kind of dancing, but his head is perfectly still, and his body and the whole screen around him is shaking around his perfectly still head. You know, it was jarring like that. I think they got new cameras or something that shoot up the ramp for the entrances, and they just made it looked like everybody was green screened into the arena when they were making their entrances from that camera. So I found that very jarring. I don't know if that's a permanent thing. I don't know if that was maybe they used the wrong equipment and that was just an accident, or if that's going to be a thing, you know, that they carry forward from this point on. I hope it's not, because I found it very jarring. I don't know if you guys did as well, but I just thought I'd mention that just because it was prominent throughout the night. So thought I'd get it out of the way. But that aside, we had Jey Uso welcoming everybody to SmackDown. Never mind, scratch that. Welcome to the Bloodline show. They run the show, not Pierce, not Kevin Owens, not anybody. They run the show. He was talking about how everybody should be thanking Roman Reigns for having towels in the dressing rooms, for having hot food at catering, for having millions of people watching every week on SmackDown, because Roman is the provider. He declares for the Rumble, says he's going to win the Rumble, and then he's going to go win the championship from Drew McIntyre. Oldberg, he actually said Oldberg, which I popped for because, you know what I mean, fuck Goldberg in 2021. anybody who's WWE champion over on Raw, he's going to go over there and win the championship because the WWE, their family is the whole WWE kind of thing. Then he talks about how everybody was praising Shinsuke, and he's like, yeah, okay, Shinsuke did well. He beat Ray, he beat Baron Corbin, he beat Daniel Bryan. Yeah, he did well until we decided this is the end, and then he got murked kind of thing. And then he said that Shinsuke should be thanking them for letting him survive. He also says that if he crosses, if somebody crosses their family, they leave in a stretcher or worse, prompting Shinsuke to come out to his old theme music. No more with the heel theme music, so they're turning him face, it seems like. What it seems like they're doing is they're priming Shinsuke to be Roman's opponent between Rumble and WrestleMania at Elimination Chamber or Fastlane. I don't know if they're going to do both or if they're just going to do Elimination Chamber. If they do both, I could see a singles at Fastlane and part of the Elimination Chamber #1 contendership kind of thing, because I think I mentioned it in a previous week, but it wouldn't make sense for Roman to be in the Elimination Chamber match himself. If he runs SmackDown, he wouldn't put himself in that match, you know what I mean? Unless somebody got under his skin and he's like, oh, you know what? Everybody's doubting my abilities. I'll go in there and prove myself kind of thing. But I don't know if they do that with the way that they're booking his character right now. So, yeah, I think they're priming Shinsuke to be his challenger between Rumble and Mania. So, the theme music being changed back to the original version, hints at him being a face, which hints at that, I think, so that's pretty good. They're doing a good job of making him a serious title threat again. The gauntlet performance, and then he ends up winning the match against Jay, spoiler alert. But they do have a match. Before that, though, Shinsuke, when he comes out, he says that if Roman is the big dog, then that makes Jay his little puppy. I thought he was going to say little bitch, because that's kind of more insulting than puppy, but it is what it is. It was still a fine insult. It caused Jay to kind of charge at him a little bit. He kicked him, and then we go to commercial, and we come back with Jay versus Shinsuke. So on commentary, Michael Cole was trying to put over that Roman gave Pierce the win last week for the gauntlet because he didn't want to face Shinsuke. And I appreciate that they're trying to put Shinsuke over as a threat to Roman. I really do, because Shinsuke is a threat to anybody if he's treated right, which they haven't treated him right since they called him up in 2017, 2018, whenever they did call him up. They haven't treated him as the main event star level guy that he is, but that's another issue. I appreciate them trying to get him over on commentary, but that is so clearly not what the story was last week. The story last week was Roman wants to beat Adam Pearce's ass for disobeying him, so he forced him in a situation that would force him in a match so he can beat his ass without getting suspended like Braun Strowman. You know what I mean? So I don't know why they're trying to push that false narrative of him not wanting to fight Shinsuke. So I didn't appreciate that. I appreciate the the sentiment of trying to make Shinsuke a threat. I just don't like pushing false narratives when it was clearly something else that was told throughout the whole 2 hours last week. You know what I mean? But that's just a minor thing. That's just Cole being Cole. Plus, Vince probably fed that into his ear because Vince probably forgot what he even booked last week. Or, you know what? Vince probably didn't even book anything last week. He probably just kind of shows up to SmackDown and then they just distract him with fucking money and cars or some shit and then just kind of let the show go on kind of thing. Because nothing about SmackDown being as good as it does says Vince McMahon on it. So, yeah. Midway through the match, or maybe not midway through the match, but partway through the match, Cesaro has his entrance music play. He comes out to the ring while Shinsuke and Jay are fighting, and then he's walking at ringside, and he's pointing at Shinsuke I got you, man. And then we go to commercial, and it's what the fuck is Cesaro doing out here mid-match with his music? That makes no sense. Jay wasn't stacking the deck, so he's not out for the save. Is he out to screw Shinsuke? No, because he would have already. And then we come back from commercial and he's on commentary. Why wouldn't you have just started the match when you came back from commercial after the promo? Why wouldn't you have just started the match with Cesaro there? Maybe they wanted people to see Cesaro's entrance to put him over and give him exposure or something. It just felt kind of weird. But he was on commentary, and they did a whole big deal of accusing him for not coming to Shinsuke's aid. To which Cesaro replied, "You know how big the Tropicana Center, Tropicana Field, whatever the stadium they're in is called." He's like, "By the time I would have gotten there, the show would have been done. You would have been home already. You would have left the arena, kind of thing." He's like, "I'm a good friend. I'm there for Shinsuke." So they're definitely teasing, heel Cesaro, face Shinsuke split up. So it wouldn't surprise me if it was Shinsuke and Cesaro in a singles at WrestleMania, which would be a fantastic match. So that's something that I'm all for. Plus, both of them should be top singles guys. You can't have them shackled in the tag team division. You know what I mean? So hopefully they take both of them seriously and elevate them both by splitting them up and then doing their own separate thing. I don't really trust them to do that because they tease that and then, that it's a thing that WWE does all the time. They're like, hey, this guy who for 10 years you've been saying deserves a world title run because he does and he's fantastic. We're going to tease that we're going to do that to get you interested, and then we're going to just abandon the push and then, fucking forget about them. So it is what it is. But so they were teasing Cesaro turning on Shinsuke the whole time, the whole "I'm a good friend, what are you talking about" thing, which is fine. I'm fine with that completely. Jay went for a roll-up. He got the 1-2-3, but then Charles is like, no, don't ring the bell. His feet were on the ropes. So he called it off. Jay argues with the ref, who is Charles Robinson, Lil Nate. And then as a result of that, Shinsuke rolls him up, then gets out of the roll, gets up, hits him with a Kinshasa, 1-2-3, and wins the match. Cesaro comes in and celebrates with Shinsuke. He also yells, "Brian, you're next," because on commentary, not only did Shinsuke declare himself for the Rumble, but he also announced that he has a match against Brian later on tonight. This is something that I did not understand, not the match itself. Throughout the night, they were showing graphics to advertise a Ding Dong Hello talk show segment, which was pretty good, actually. I enjoyed it, I think. And then they were promoting something else, and I can't remember what it was, but it wasn't that big. It was something. I can't remember what else they were promoting on the same night, but they were promoting it. Oh, they were promoting Corbin and Ray a bunch. For the rest of the night, and they did not once visually promote Brian versus Cesaro, and the only time they audibly announced it was when he was on commentary, where he was like, "Oh, I'm taking on Brian later tonight." So I don't know why you wouldn't advertise a match like that. That's two of the best wrestlers in the world having a match on your product. Like, advertise that. What I don't understand. The match itself between Jay and Shinsuke was good. It was good for what it was. It was a TV match, obviously, so they couldn't go nuts or anything like that. They didn't have too much time, but they put Jay over. No, they didn't. Sorry, they put Shinsuke over. Within the commentary, they teased the Cesaro breakup. The only thing, so Jay is now kind of officially the non-threatening lackey of Roman. I don't particularly like that, but depending on where they go with it, it could be a thing, a case of the ends justify the means. Because they could do a thing where he has to call in Jimmy, and then Jimmy kind of takes the spotlight from Jay, or kind of thing, and then they kind of tease tension there, and then whatever, and then they eventually maybe put them together, and they're like, hey, blah, blah, blah. Like, they can do a lot with that. I just hope that them turning Jay into the non-threatening lackey is serving a purpose, and it's going to build to something further along that's like story implications, and it's not just, hey, just have him take losses for Roman kind of thing. You know what I mean? But that remains to be seen. So I'm going to remain cautiously optimistic, because all of the stuff they've been doing with Roman so far has been really good. So I have faith that it's not going to be for nothing, the whole him losing every match kind of thing. So I think it'll be fine. Then we had a backstage segment with Sonya Deville and Adam Pearce, where Sonya is saying that she was looking up some of his stuff on the indies, and She thinks that, he might be able to take Roman. Pierce is like, I haven't been that guy in years, and that guy would have gotten his ass beat. I don't think I can do anything. Paul Heyman comes in with the contract, tells him to sign it, kind of thing. Says that it's an opportunity of a lifetime, an opportunity that the Scrap Daddy never got, which was obviously his nickname on the Indies. Announces that it's a no DQ match, I guess. And then... Adam Pearce is like, listen, I know this is ridiculous. You know this is ridiculous. He's just going to beat my ass, but there, I signed it. Are you happy? And then kind of gives him the contract, and that's the end of the segment. Then we cut to commercial, I think, after that. Or we might have just cut to the next segment. I can't really remember. But the next segment was a quick little backstage thing with Jay arguing with Charles Robinson, the referee backstage, telling him to do his job. Charles said, listen, I saw your foot on the ropes. You guys, those are the rules. I don't make the rules. I enforce the rules. You were breaking the rules. Jay says, you're about to get fired for messing with the chief. Charles is like, what are you talking about? And then Jay just says, do your job, and then walks off. Going back to what I was just saying about them doing something with Jay, maybe they're going to use him losing matches to get him more aggressive and then eventually have him winning matches. I don't know. I'll wait it out to see it, because typically the thing is, when something happens that you're unsure of in a rivalry, it's always best to just remain optimistic, I guess, and just kind of wait it out to see if it goes anywhere. The thing is, WWE so often in the past just doesn't pay anything off, and they just do things on a whim, and it just never means anything. So that's why people are always ooh, I don't know if that's too good, because you don't have that, guarantee in the back of your mind, okay, this is building towards something. Because you're just conditioned to think it's WWE, this could mean nothing, and they could just be doing this just for this week, and then they're going to change their plans next week. So yeah, but hopefully, they've been doing good on SmackDown. The whole Roman stuff is good, so I'm optimistic that they're going to do something with Jay beyond just him taking losses. You know what I mean? It might be his role for the next month or so, a couple months, and then maybe they'll turn it into something. But I'm just remaining optimistic and just, waiting to see what happens with that. There was a Profits backstage interview / promo thing. The interviewer asks if it was wise to defend the titles after the hashtag Dirty Dogs attacked them the week prior. Montez goes on to say, you can call the Profits a lot of things. Dawkins lists them off. The nicknames, I didn't really bother writing them down. I didn't really remember them. And then Montez says, but the one thing you can't call them is scared. He goes back to how they won the titles in March and held the titles for 312 days, I think he said. And not once during that reign did they back down. So, of course, they weren't going to back down from the challenge last week. Then he goes on to say how the Dolph and Rude, they are called many names, one of them being the Dirty Dogs. Dawkins says ED. Montez is like, yo, keep it PG. He's like, entertainment dysfunction? Dysfunction, that's not a word. Dysfunction is the word. And then he's like, hey, that's PG, pretty good. So it was a nice little play on, erectile dysfunction is a insult, but that's not politically, it's not PG-13, but PG pretty good. I liked it. It was witty. And they were like, you can name them all these things. And then at the end of the names, Montez says champions. And then they kind of get serious and they're like, oh shit. He's like, oh, but we're going to run it back, but it's not going to be a rerun because we're going to win the titles back. Because the Profits are up, even though they're down right now, the Profits are up and they want the smoke. It was a really good promo. I really like when they have promos where the face is like, hey, I lost the match, right? Let's run it back. I'll win this time. There's no hey, I lost because of this, I lost because of that. It's just yeah, it's a loss. It's a competition. Sometimes you lose. But I'm going to get right back up from it. I'm going to fight. So I like those kinds of promos from babyfaces. They are a babyface tag team. They showed some intensity. They showed some seriousness. They showed the wittiness that they're known for with their promos. So I really enjoyed that promo segment. That was a really good promo segment. Then we had a promo segment with Paul Heyman delivering the signed contract from Adam Pearce for a no disqualification match to Roman Reigns, who was talking to Apollo Crews. Them even associating Apollo Crews to Roman Reigns gives me very, very high hopes that they're going to finally do something with Apollo beyond, hey, I'm happy to be here, I'm going to have a great match once a year, and then fuck off into obscurity. Just give Apollo something to do because he's so talented, man. Just find a character for him or find some storyline way to make him interesting and just let him wrestle, and it's going to be great. So they were talking. Roman says he's not going to sign it because he never wanted a DQ match. He wants a last man standing match. Paul Heyman says that Pearce is never going to sign off on a last man standing match. Roman says he will because you'll make him and we're going to sign it in the ring. Blah, 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 blah. Get it done. Handle it. And then that's the end of that segment right there. Then we had a match, which was Natalya with Tamina in her corner versus Liv Morgan of the Riot Squad with Ruby and Billy in her corner. Billy Kay is fantastic. Ruby and Liv were doing the regular entrance at the top of the ramp, and then Billy just kind of breaks through them and starts doing air guitar and shit like that, which was funny. Billy Kay hopped up on the apron with them for their pose on the apron before they get in the ring, but she was like, hey, lift me up before she got up voluntarily to make it like, so Liv was like, okay, come pose with us. And then she got up and she did this really over exaggerated like rocker thing with the annoyed face kind of thing, and then the rocker sign. Billy Kay is fantastic, man, and she was on commentary too. She said she's unofficially an official member of the Riot Squad, and at some point throughout the match, she left commentary because she said that Liv needed help. Which prompted her to cheer on Liv from ringside with Riot. Then she went over to the other side of the ring where Tamina was, stood in front of the ring and was yelling at the ref or something. Tamina's like, what are you doing on this side? Why are you here? Like, fuck off. And then she chases her around to the other side. Billy gets into the ring. She walks between Natalya and Liv, and then distracts Liv, gets out of the ring. Liv's like, what are you doing? Natalya rolls up Liv, and then that's the match. So I don't mind necessarily the distraction and roll-up stuff when it plays into a story, right? If it's needless roll-up shit, it just doesn't make people look good. But if it plays up to a story, then I think it's fine. However, I don't really see the need to have Natalya win the match. Natalya is not doing anything. Why are you putting her over Liv? Which Liv, by the way, is just constantly improving. I thought the match itself was fine. I thought it was a decent match for the time that they were allotted. Liv has some pretty flashy, good-looking offensive moves, some of her strikes and stuff like that. Yeah, but I don't really see, I get you want Billy to kind of annoy everybody, and that's what she's there for within the context of the story of the wrestlers. It's kind of like she's trying to find where to go, but nobody wants her kind of thing. And I understand that. It's just, why would you have Liv take the pin to Natalya? I don't see a need for it. Do you need to build Natalya for something? What's Natalya going to do? Challenge for the women's title? No. Who wants to see that in 2021? You know what I mean? Challenge for the tag titles with Tamina? Nobody wants to see Tamina challenge for any championship in 2021 or ever. It's just, there's no need to give Natalya that win. A win for Liv would be big. Liv Morgan's singles match victory against Natalya, that's big. You don't need to give Natalya the win. So I didn't really like the decision of who won that match. I thought the match itself, the match quality was fine. I liked what Billy was doing throughout the match. I think the finish definitely serves the purpose of what they're trying to do with Billy. I just don't really agree with the need to have Natalya win. You know what I mean? You could have just had the distraction, Liv kick out of the roll up and then hit her finish, and then boom, 1, 2, 3, and then Billy can play it off like, see, look at that, I got in her head, I made her think she had the match won with the distraction, and then blah blah blah. Or you could just play off of it like that. I just really don't see the need to give Natalya the win over Liv Morgan, whether or not you protect Liv with the distraction or not. Then they had Ray versus Corbin the whole time. Dominic was on commentary. The whole time that they were fighting the match, Corbin kept antagonizing Dominic, pushing him down into his chair, saying, "Oh, are you going to get involved? No, you're not. You don't want to cause a DQ." Graves on commentary. Dominic called Michael Cole old, by the way, on commentary, which was great. Graves the whole time on commentary was like, listen, you don't want to get involved. You want to let your dad deal with his own shit. Like, it's his business. You want to let him take care of it. Like, I understand that. That's what Dominic was saying the whole time. But he's like, you got to fight up for you got to stand up for yourself. You got to fight for yourself. You're in the WWE now. Like, you can't just sit back and do nothing. Eventually, they have Corbin antagonize Dominic a little bit more throughout the match. Then they have a point where he gets in his face. They're both standing. Dominic's about to back down. Corbin throws Ray into the ring, turns around, punches Dominic. And then Dominic tries to get into the ring after he recovers. Ray pushes him down. He's like, no, don't get involved. Don't get in here, kind of thing. Corbin pushes Ray into Dominic. Dominic tumbles out. Ray gets up. Big, not deep six. The end of days, his actual finish. Although Ray took a deep six that looked fantastic. But end of days, 1, 2, 3. Corbin gets the win. And then... Ray's like, why'd you get involved, kind of thing. And then Dominic's like, oh, like, he punched me, kind of thing. Not in a promo, but just in the ring after the match. And then Ray's like disappointed, but like he understands because he's been there in his career, kind of thing. You know what I mean? He's like, it's a mistake. I understand, but it's still disappointing, kind of thing. Also, another thing that Dominic said on commentary was that he wants to get tag team gold with Ray. I actually would genuinely be down for that. It gives Dominic a chance to keep learning. He can, improve his promo work in kind of a low stakes division. Obviously, saying a championship, division is low stakes is kind of, devaluing it in a sense, but I mean, comparing the tag team titles to the US title and the world title, Dominic isn't ready for any of those, but with the tag team title, there's two people, so you can have one kind of carry the other. So I think it would be a really good way to have Dominic develop as a wrestler, both from a character and in-ring perspective. He would get to learn directly from his dad, live on TV every week, whatever. They could win the tag titles, give him some gold, give Ray a final piece of gold before he retires, because I don't think we'll see Ray as a mid-card or world champion before he's done. And I don't think we necessarily need to either. So yeah, I don't know if that was just them kind of being like whatever, or if that was just Dominic being like, hey, that's what I want to do. That's not what WWE told me to say, or if that is what WWE wants to do. But if that is what they want to do, I'm fully on board for it. The match itself between Ray and Corbin was decent enough. I mean, Corbin, does what Corbin does, wrestles slow, wrestles methodically, gets heat. Ray is the babyface underdog trying to fight back against the odds of the bigger guy. The dynamics of the match were fine. The psychology of the match was fine. I didn't mind the finish. I think I saw somebody on Twitter say that they didn't really like the finish because it was a distraction finish, but it wasn't a distraction finish out of nowhere. They were building to it the whole match from the get-go. I think if I remember correctly, they started the match, Corbin got like a move off, and then immediately started yelling at Dominic from inside the ring, like as soon as the match started. So they were building to it the whole way. I think it was fine. After that, they had a Paul Heyman and Adam Pearce backstage segment where Paul Heyman explains that Roman didn't sign the contract because he agreed with Adam Pearce about the no DQ stipulation and instead wants a last man standing stipulation. And then Pearce is like, last man standing? Are you kidding me? Paul Heyman's like, listen, take your time to look it over. You can discuss any concerns you have in the ring when you sign it later tonight. And I consider this handled, and then walks away. And then we had a backstage Ray and Dominic's section where Ray's like, why'd you get involved? And Dominic's like, why are you backing down, man? You got to fight back. And then Ray's like, no. This isn't about fighting back. It's about, being smart. You can't just fight a dude like Corbin on the whim without any strategy. Former U.S. champion, former Money in the Bank, King of the Ring, Golden Gloves. Like, this dude's not a joke. You can't just go in there willy-nilly. You got to have strategy kind of thing. But he says you want to, if you want to take care of Corbin, I know just who to talk to, kind of thing. I don't know if they're just gonna bring Murphy back into the fold. I would rather they do something else with Murphy. But then again, there's nowhere else in the card to really position Murphy. So having Murphy go over on Corbin would be good. But I feel like they kind of want to elevate Corbin by going against Ray, kind of thing. I don't know. They have a lot of stuff they could do. I'm curious to see who it is, if it's going to just be kind of like predictable with Corbin Murphy, or if they're going to, get somebody else involved. But that remains to be seen as I crumple my notebook. Then we had the Ding Dong Hello talk show segment. Bianca's the first GUEST, you know what I'm saying? The guest, first guest, they had like a door in the middle of the ring, and then they had like a sofa, like a singular person kind of sofa, and then they had a stool as like the seating arrangement. I think there was a plant or something there. And then Bayley started the segment because we came back from commercials. She started the segment by like ringing the doorbell and then opening the door. She introduces her guest. She put over her talk show, and then she introduced Bianca as her guest. Also, Bayley was dressed like a therapist. I thought that was kind of funny. So Bianca makes her entrance, and she's like about to talk, and then Bayley's like, no, go through the door, because it's just a singular door with no wall around it, just in the middle of the ring. So Bianca goes back around, and she's like, ring the doorbell, dude. And then she rings the doorbell, and it's like, oh, I wonder who that is. And then Bianca pokes around the door, and she's like, it's me. And then Bayley's like, fuck, and then gets up, opens the door. Oh, it's Bianca. I like that. I thought that was good. That was a funny little bit. After letting her in, Bianca goes and sits in Bayley's seat. Bayley's like, no, that's my seat. And she's like, oh yeah, you got good taste. This is a good seat. And then Bayley goes to sit on the stool, and she's like, no, you know what? I'm going to stand, because when I win the Rumble, I'm going to be in there for probably, about an hour. So I got to warm up the legs, so I'm ready to last that long in the Rumble. Bayley congratulates Bianca on having a WWE Chronicles debuting this month on January 23rd, I think she said, then offers a sneak preview, which happens to actually be footage of Bayley pinning Bianca about a month ago. Then she asks why Bianca has the EST nickname, and Bianca responds with it's about my accomplishments. And Bayley's like, oh, your accomplishments before you got into wrestling? Isn't that disrespectful for the people who paved the way in this industry? Bianca's like, why are you so, upset at me having confidence, kind of thing? Bianca eventually, it ends up to her challenging Bayley for a rematch, and Bayley's like, nah, I don't gotta wrestle you. Like, I pinned you a few weeks ago, man. I got nothing to prove. But how about this? We can do an obstacle course next week. And then Bianca's like, oh, an obstacle course. Ha 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 ha. Yeah, okay, I accept. And then that was the segment. So yeah, good segment. I really like the door bit. I just love stupid little things like that so much, where a character buys into their own gimmick so much that the other character knows it's absurd, but the point is that it's absurd. I love that shit. So that was really good. Then we had a backstage thing that was featuring a earlier in the night segment, which had Brian Otis and Gable training the hips yet again for the Rumble. Cesaro interrupts. Granted, before Cesaro interrupted, a interviewer asked Brian about how training with the Alpha Academy is going, and Brian says it's great. If training with the Alpha Academy gets me even this much better, I'll take it. And then she asks him about losing to Shinsuke. Shinsuke. Gable interrupts and he's like, hey, no negativity. And then Brian's like, Shinsuke's a great competitor. There's no shame in losing against him. I got a lot of respect for him, and he's got a lot of respect for me. Cesaro interrupts. He's like, hey, listen, you can't speak for Shinsuke. You're not his friend. I am. He gave you a pity handshake last week. And then Cesaro ended up mocking the hips, saying that they were doing the Macarena. And then Brian's like, oh, you're doubting my training methods. How about I show you how well they work later tonight? So they show that segment from earlier in the day, setting up their match. Then we come back from commercial. Brian makes his entrance. Then we come back from commercial, and then Cesaro made his entrance or something like that. All I know is that they promoted Drew versus Goldberg, which is unfortunately a match for the WWE Championship at Royal Rumble. They previewed that before this match, I think, which, I don't like the previews of other shit in the middle of a segment because, like I've been saying the past couple episodes or the past couple of reviews, I guess, it kind of breaks up the flow for me. But, yeah. I also don't like them cross-promoting. Don't promote the other brand. So I didn't like that. However, what I did like was the Bryan and Cesaro match because it was fucking great. There was good psychology. There was good in-ring work. Cesaro was really aggressive, and he was definitely wrestling like a heel. There was a spot where Bryan went to kick Shinsuke Cesaro out on the outside, and Cesaro kind of ducked, and he hit the post. The little LED post on the outside, and then he would sell the leg throughout the match. Later in the match, Bryan would get the yes lock on Cesaro and kind of work the arm, and then Cesaro would sell the arm for the rest of the match. There was this there was a spot on the top turnbuckle where Cesaro had his back to the crowd, I guess, where the crowd would be, and then kind of picks up Bryan and then turns into the ring for a suplex from the top rope, which just shows incredible core strength and just strength overall. Cesaro's a fucking freak of nature. Bro, he's the strongest pound for pound person in the company, I think, and he has been for years. So the dude's an insane athlete. And my favorite portion of this match was that Cesaro won clean as a whistle. It was insane. It was great. They had Bryan setting up for the running knee. Cesaro popped him up in the air for the European uppercut, the very European uppercut, I think he used to call it, right? Where he pops him up in the air and hits him with the European on their way down, and then he picks him up, neutralizer, 1, 2, 3. Cesaro beat Daniel Bryan clean on Smackdown. I'm hoping that means they're going to take Cesaro seriously. I'm hoping that means they're building to Shinsuke versus Cesaro, so both guys can look strong, and that can be a believable WrestleMania match. And then hopefully after that, Cesaro can get a mid-card or a world title run. Maybe him and Big E could have a really good program. Heel Cesaro and face Big E. Maybe that would be really good if they want to do that. But just take Cesaro seriously, man. The fact that he hasn't been world champion is insane. The fact that Shinsuke was never world champion is insane. Fuck, man. It's incredible how much talent they have on the roster and how poorly they utilize it, or how poorly they have utilized it in the past 5-10 years. It's genuinely mind-boggling how they see all that talent come through their doors and they're like, you're going to have a match on main event against an NXT guy for no reason. Yeah, but that guy who has less talent in his whole body than you do in one hand, who can barely even cut a promo, yeah, we're gonna put him near the top of the card, brother. I just don't get it. It doesn't make sense. But very, very good match. They were given a decent amount of time to work with. They used it really well. Very, very good match. I liked it a lot. And I really, really, really liked that Cesaro got a clean win over Bryan. The fact that Bryan keeps getting these losses back-to-back kind of thing makes me believe that they are going to give him the Rumble and then do Roman and Bryan at Mania because obviously, if you're about to win the Rumble, you can take a couple pinfall losses in the build-up because the Rumble, you don't really need to be booked strong going into it. It's a anybody can win thing. And obviously, it just immediately gives you all that momentum you lost right back and then some, right? So yeah, they had after that, they had a Carmella backstage interview segment. where Carmella is talking about how, like she's here, but Sasha hasn't been there in 2 weeks since she pinned her in that tag match. I wonder why. Maybe it's because I'm better than her in every way. Sasha attacks her mid-promo. The sommelier Reginald gets in between. Carmella's like, are you serious? What the hell? Sasha's like, hey, listen, talking to Reginald here. She's like, hey, listen, tell her she can have her title match if I can have you in a match. So it looks like we're going to get Reginald getting his ass beat by Sasha Banks, which will be fucking hilarious. The dude seems really like agile, and he seems like he can bump, in a like exaggerated way from the little we've seen of him. So like that might be a very, very just entertaining match to watch Sasha beat the fuck out of this dude and just have him bumping all over the place for her. So that might be funny. But yeah, just quick little segment to build up their feud. Which I'm fine with. You don't need some big set piece every week. It can be something small like this, and it got the purpose across. We're getting Reginald and Sasha, which will definitely advance the feud as well. So yeah, it's fine. I'm fine with that. Then we had Apollo versus Sami Zayn with Intercontinental title implications. Just say it's a number one contender match, WWE. Just say it's a number one. What's wrong with saying number one contender? Like every time they have a match that's supposed to be a number one contender, they just have Michael Cole say, oh, welcome to this match that has this championship implications. Just say it's a number one contender match. You're going to give the winner the title shot anyways. That's what they did in this. There was a documentary crew with Sammy again, so he's carrying on his conspiracy theory documentary shtick, which I love. They showed the Talking Smack segment with Paul Heyman and Apollo from last week after the Intercontinental title match, which if you haven't seen, go watch it. It's fantastic. Paul Heyman's great, and Apollo's facials during the whole segment are really, really good. Big E was also on commentary for this match, but Big E had a whole ass fucking couch out there, and he was just laying on the couch with a bowl of fruit. So I really like that because it fits Big E's gimmick, and also it makes Big E stand out. You know what I mean? When you have somebody on commentary, which if you watch my GM mode stuff, I love having people on commentary because they can put themselves over, the opponent over, the story over. It's just a really good medium of telling story. I love having people on commentary, but when you have somebody on commentary, they're just kind of sitting there, right? So if they went out of their way to make Big E look like such a special deal that he has his own couch at commentary and just vibing, so he stands out and they're like, ooh, who's that? You know what I mean? It just automatically brings your eyes to you, and then his promo work brings your eyes to him. His look brings your eyes to him having the title. You know what I mean? So I think they did a really good job of highlighting Big E in a match that he wasn't the focal point in. Well, he kind of was, because it was for number one contendership at his title, and so he is technically the focal point, but like not really though. You know what I mean? So I think they did a good job of making Big E stand out, which I appreciated. There was a segment where Sammy tried to roll up Apollo, held the tights, 1, 2, ref sees the tights. She's like, nah. Sammy's like, what are you talking about? Count the pin. Then Apollo rolls up Sammy, holding the tights, 1, 2, 3, because the ref was on the other side, so she didn't see Apollo holding the tights. Sammy's going around saying like, hey, he held the tights. He held the tights. How about you? How come you didn't let me do that, but you let him do it? What the hell? So that fuels Sammy's conspiracy, right? Even though, so like Sammy can take a loss there, and his loss serves the purpose of what he's doing character-wise right now, because he's got the conspiracy theory. He lost by somebody cheating the way he tried to cheat against them. So he's not in the right, but he's still in the right. There's no conspiracy against him, but he also has something where in his mind, he can use it as conspiracy fuel. So I really like the finish there. We get Apollo looking good again. Hopefully being associated with Roman gets him, like I said, some more exposure and more of a push. And after the match, Apollo goes out, grabs the IC title off of the couch. Big E's like, hey, he'll give that back. Apollo's like, okay, here, tosses it to him. Big E's like, hey, stop playing. Apollo's like, I'll see you around. keep it safe. Keep that safe. Keep that safe. And then the Big E's like, yeah, I'll see you in the back. I'll see you catering. I'll see you this. I'll see you there. And then so they're building up the tension there. And then we go to commercial. We come back from commercial, and they have announced that there's going to be an Intercontinental title match next week between Apollo and Big E. They also officially announced the Olympics thing, or obstacle course, between Bayley and Bianca. So yeah, that was technically the in-ring main event as well, Apollo and Sammy, because next up we had the Roman and Pierce contract signing. They got in the ring and all that stuff. Once again, like I mentioned at the beginning, the camera up the ramp just makes it look like they're green screened in, and it was really jarring for me, and it especially was jarring when there was 3 people, because it just looked so weird because they weren't all in the same, like, Roman was in the foreground, and then Heyman and Jay are kind of in the background, and then the set is in the full background, midground, I guess would be called, where Paul and Jay were. So it just looked really jarring. I don't know what they were going for. Like, fair play for trying it, but I hope they don't keep it, personally, because I didn't like it. But anyways, we had Roman. Pierce comes down to no music, of course. Pierce sits down in his chair, and the chairs are set up like a typical contract signing on either side of the table. Roman walks to the head of the table. Paul's like, oh, here, I'll get your chair at the head of the table. He's like, no, I don't want that chair. And he turns to Pierce, who's already sitting down. He's like, I want that chair. So just a little thing of like, hey, even for something as minute as what I'm sitting in, I have full power over you, you're my bitch kind of thing. The whole mafia leader kind of thing. So I like that. Just for the simple, smallest thing, he flexes his power. For the smallest things, just putting over how, his character is. So Pierce gets up, goes to the other side, gets the table. Although Jay kind of lifts him out of the chair. He's like, hurry up, man. Taking forever. Get your ass out of there. Gives the chair to Roman. Pierce signs, hands it to Roman. Roman signs, hands it back. And then Pierce says, I've been waiting for you to do that all day. Has like a smug, like half grin. Roman's like, what are you talking about? He gets out the ring, Adam Pierce that is, and he walks up and he starts limping. He starts limping up the ramp, and he's like, oh man, my knee's been bothering me all day. You know those injuries, Roman, where it's kind of there and just some days it's just worse than it is? Well, it's standard procedure in every WWE contract. It says right there, cards subject to change. And, as a WWE official, it's my duty to, find a suitable replacement, because I don't think I'm going to be cleared to compete at the Royal Rumble. It's my duty to find a suitable replacement for the match, and a suitable replacement is exactly who I found. Points up the ramp, boom, Kevin Owens' music hits, he comes out, signs the contract. There you go. The bait and switch is complete. Everybody who is thinking that they are ruining the WWE Championship's prestige can shut the fuck up and realize that this was serving a purpose. So we're going to get Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns one more time. I would assume they're not going to go one more after that, so I think it'll be for the final time at Royal Rumble. Hopefully they just give Roman a clean win so they can get past it. You don't need any interference this time. Just give him a clean win. They can get past it. Kevin Owens has already been elevated by both matches that they've already had. Elevate him again by having a near fall. Or maybe, I was going to say maybe have like Jay drag the ref out of the ring when Kevin Owens hits a stunner or something, but then that gives Kevin Owens a claim and another shot, so that's not really a clean victory. But I don't know, just have a way that, they find something else to do with Kevin Owens, because they should move on to Shinsuke probably in the in-between, and then I'd like to see Bryan and Roman at WrestleMania. Although I don't want to see Bryan win that match, I do want to see Bryan and Roman have that match, because I think it would be really good. That was SmackDown. Another good episode of SmackDown. I liked it a lot. There were a couple things I didn't like, particularly, like I said, the jarring camera up the ramp. Once again, a couple minor production things, like doing the first entrance of the match, going to commercial, coming back, showing something else, and then the second entrance kind of thing. Didn't really like that, but they have cut back on it compared to last week, I think, so that was nice. Like I said, the Natalya thing I also didn't like. I don't think she needs to be beating Liv Morgan in 2021, quite honestly. especially in such like a throwaway thing that you're not even building to anything. But other than that, like the show was good, maybe like an 8 out of 10. I was going to say 7 or 8 out of 10, but I feel like 7's too low and 9 is too high because it wasn't like wow, but it was like, hey, that was pretty good, you know what I mean? So probably an 8 out of 10 SmackDown. They're keeping up the good quality of SmackDowns, which I appreciate because it kind of cleanses my palate after sitting through 3 excruciating hours of Raw every week, because Raw is fucking garbage. So yeah, man, let me know what you guys thought of SmackDown down in the comments. If you guys enjoyed what I was saying and all that stuff, leave a like and all that. But yeah, let me know down in the comments. If you want to check out some more of the stuff that I do on the channel, you can do so by looking at the end cards at the end of the video. I do some gameplay stuff, so you can check out a couple playlists to that and go check that stuff out. If you would like to support the channel, like I said earlier, you can head over to Patreon, link in the description, first link. If you can, that's great. If not, that's a-okay. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, link in the description. Please sponsor me, PC, of course. Be sure to turn on notifications so you never miss an episode, because YouTube likes to zuck your boy, and I'll put my videos in your sub boxes. So by pressing that nice old bell icon, you'll get a push notification anytime I do upload, and you'll never have to miss it. And yeah, like I said, let me know what you guys thought of SmackDown down below. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, subscribe, share it to all your friends, comment down below, all that good shit. And I'll see you guys next time.